The opinions and views expressed in the following program are those of the speakers and the host, and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and Your Sports Network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow the road. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
And hello, everybody. Welcome inside a Monday episode of Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you, as always, by our good friends over at Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. I'm going to go ahead and put them in the top right-hand corner so you know where to go. If you are in the market for a new or used vehicle, make sure to check out our good friends that are popping in right now. Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. They'll go the extra mile for you. We try to follow their lead every day on this show and do the same. One of the ways we do that, of course, is player profiles and coaches' corners and interviews with all your favorite local athletes and coaches. We are going to continue that trend today. Our first player profile of the basketball season, certainly not the last, as we are just putting our toes into the basketball waters. But Ava Vecchione, the lone senior of the Springfield Tigers, going to play her player profile today for you. Great interview I had with her. Second year in a row we've been able to catch up with Ava, and now she is going from a junior that had a lot of seniors to look up to last year to now the lone senior and being asked to have a lot more responsibility, a lot more leadership put on her shoulders, and she's been doing a really good job for Springfield so far. And I think that Springfield team's going to be just as good as they were last year. They have a schedule that will test them. They're going to see every different type of basketball you could see. They've already went toe-to-toe with a very good Crestview team that's not in their division. You know, that's the division up for Springfield, going from 4 to 3, lost by 2. We're going to see what happens. We're going to see what happens for Springfield. Obviously, they're also in a very tough conference with Western Reserve in there, going to be fighting them for the MVAC Scarleteer, and I think McDonald will also have a say in that. They look very young but very good, and there are a couple other teams that could be wild cards in there in that conference as well. We'll see how it all shakes out, but one thing is for sure, Springfield, after going all the way to state last year, looks like a team that can make that kind of run because they have one player in particular that's a matchup problem to almost everybody in Jamaica Brungard, and that's going to be something to keep an eye on as they keep going. So we'll have Ava Vecchione. We'll play her profile a little bit later on today. We'll also recap the weekend. We'll go over the scoreboard. We'll tell you what happened on Friday night, Saturday afternoon, all that fun stuff. We had a lot of basketball actually go down on Saturday because it was both boys and girls basketball. So a lot to go over, a lot to recap, and then of course we'll tell you what's going on tonight on the network as well. But before all that, because I think we have some time, and I think we can take the time to do it, even though we don't usually talk about local national sports on this show. We like to keep it local because there are so many more avenues you can listen to national sports talk, and there are probably a lot of people that are more qualified than I am to talk about it, and that's why we don't touch it too much. But there are times when it's just like, hey, I have an opinion on something. I want to share it, and I want to just talk about it real quick and get it out there. I have the platform to do it. So I think we're going to do that today because I want to talk about this college football playoff because it's just been all over social media, the talk about, Florida State, Alabama, the four that the college football playoff committee decided to put into the top four and why they did that. And obviously what went into the decision making, and obviously, I think we all can agree that no one's naive enough to think that there wasn't a little bit of a guide of the hand to say, let's just really consider Alabama, because obviously Alabama is a brand. The SEC is a brand that brings money, that brings ratings, that makes everybody a little bit more happy when they can put an extra dollar in their pocket. We're talking about the TV broadcasters, because they're obviously able to get more advertising dollars. We're talking about the NCAA. Obviously, this is the same people that are mad that the NIL deals are taking away their profits, right? So, of course, they're gonna make a little bit of a guided hand towards um, putting the thing that's gonna make them the most money in the playoffs. But I as unnaive as I am about that, one of the things I am not gonna sit here and try to say, in my opinion at least, is that there was someone in the room, or a lot of people in the room, that just kind of sat there with like their arms crossed over everybody talking, because there are like 4 or 5 college coaches on that committee, and I don't think they were all just sitting there like, pick Alabama, let's just get out of here, and we're gonna do that, and you can't have any opinions outside of that, and it's just we're just doing that, and who cares what everyone else thinks, we're not gonna have a reason for it. I do think there were also logical football discussions that were had in that room, and I do. I hope no one actually knows what happened in the room. I feel like that song from Hamilton, where the room where it happened, where no one really knows what went on in that room, and no one really knows what the actual discussion was, and it just happens, and no one really understands how. We don't have a camera in the room, which I think would be cool. How cool would it be to see like the live discussion of the college football playoffs? It would never ever happen, because no one wants everybody to know what goes on in that room. But that would be awesome. Let's just all be real. We want people to be held accountable for their decisions, and having one guy represent you and say, this is what we decided, is kind of a cop out, in my opinion. I think it would be really cool if we at least heard from members of that board that said, here's what I thought, here's what I thought, here's what I threw out on the table, here's what I was saying, here what my opinion was. That would be really fun. When it comes to my opinion, my opinion about who should get in, this has nothing to do with knowing what the money has to do with the decision. I get all that. Just purely what I see when I'm watching the football right now is the way it is. And I know this is kind of unpopular in this area, especially because we're in Big Ten area, right? And Big Ten area hates SEC area, because that's just how it is. I think every Big Ten fan probably hates the SEC the most. And it's understandable. You hate for a long time, the SEC was the absolute best conference in college football. It's not that well, it might be that, but it's not as pure and blatant and obvious as it used to be. But for a long time, it was like the SEC ran college football, and everyone knew it, and there was a lot of pushback to that, and you hate greatness. So, but that being said, I do think, in my humble opinion, football, just my opinion, I think Alabama right now looks like a better football team, more round-round football team than Florida State after the Jordan Travis injury. We saw Florida State play 2 football games without Jordan Travis, right? 2 football games. They won. Props. They did it. They got the win. They got the win. But remember, we went to a system back in back after the BCS, where we didn't want a win to be a win, right? We wanted wins to be judged by human eyes. It used to not be. We used to have computer points to say the win's the win. We don't care how it looks. It's computer points. It's there. BCS 1 versus 2. We had it. We had that role model. We had that model. We ditched it. We said we didn't want it. We wanted to be able to judge what a team looked like. We didn't want wins to be wins, right? That's the big gripe that we had with the BCS. A lot of people. I'm saying we as a collective fan society, we didn't like the fact that there wasn't any human factor in that decision. Well, now there is human factor. Now we can look and we can make a very subjective opinion that Alabama is a better football team than Florida State, when Florida State doesn't have Jordan Travis on the football field. very subjective. Some people say no, some people say yes, but at the end of the day, we wanted it subjective. We had an objective computer ranking. We ditched it. This is what we get. We get opinions now. And my opinion, even though it means nothing, I'm looking at Florida State against Florida, and I'm looking at Florida State against Louisville. And both of those games, I know Alabama did not look good against Auburn, and Auburn isn't great either. And I know that Alabama actually looked pretty dang good against Georgia. But a lot of people, rightfully so, have a valid opinion that in the last 2 weeks of the season, that Alabama game and the Georgia Tech game to end the season, Georgia didn't look like a number one team in the country. They won those games, but eye test, and especially the Alabama game, what shocked me the most, I know I'm getting off track. I just have a lot of things going on in my head about this. That Alabama game, Alabama was using the same exact plays that Georgia Tech was using to run 200 plus yards against Georgia. And it was like, did you prepare at all to fix those mistakes on defense? Like, it was like Alabama just watched the film of the last game and said, hey, that's working for that team. They're not going to make any adjustments. Let's do the exact same thing with better talent. And Georgia could not stop it. Like that run game of Alabama was just like boom, 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 boom. And it was the same scheme, same plays. Really, a lot of the same plays. Like you could break down the film, and it's like that is the exact same play that Tech ran the week before, and Georgia Tech ran for more yards than anyone did against Georgia all season, doing the same stuff. Alabama just has more talent, and that's why they were just even more productive, and then they won the game. And Tech probably would have won the game if they had Alabama's talent running the same stuff. That being said, I'm looking at Florida State against Florida. I watched that game, and then I saw the condensed game against Louisville. Obviously, I couldn't watch the game. I was doing a basketball game in South Range, so couldn't watch the ACC championship. But I watched the condensed game, which gives you a really good idea of what was going on. You missed some of the throwaway plays, but you get an hour and a half of football of just here's what kind of went down. Florida State now, without Jordan Travis, looks a lot like Iowa in the sense that they have an elite defense that is really, really good, but their offense is a wet match in a dark cave. A wet match in dark cave. That's how I describe them. They look lost. They look like they don't know what they're doing. Their best plays are when they have their quarterback and when they have their running back in the Wildcat and they run little jet sweeps. Their offense just looks not good. Their defense is elite. They were elite. They had to win. They had to beat Louisville. But that's not a good Louisville defense. And they struggled to score 16 points against them. And I get it. It's not fair to say that because of course they lost Jordan Travis. They're trying to regather the pieces. But when I'm watching, I'm just like, man, this offense just doesn't look like they'd beat anybody in that top four. I don't think the offense now would score a point against Michigan unless they were given the ball at the 10-yard line by their defense, which is definitely possible. That defense is really good. Could force a turnover, but they're not going to get those long offensive drives that you need to win. I'm not confident in their offense at all without Jordan Travis. They had 2 games to prove it. A lot of people brought up the Ohio State 2014 season where they won with a third-string quarterback. But remember, they had a game with the third-string quarterback before the playoffs. It was Wisconsin. What did they do in that game? They won 59-0. They proved we are just as good with him as our quarterback as we were with JT Barrett. He got hurt in the Michigan game. We'll bring in Cardell Jones. Everyone was like, oh man, this is the third-string quarterback. What's Swastika going to look like? They had the Wisconsin game. They won 59-0. Then he looked really good. If Florida State had that kind of performance where they just pounded the crap out of Louisville, it didn't have to be 59-0. I would have probably settled for, hey, 28-6. To show me something that your offense has life, that your offense is not just a wet blanket, trying to find their way in a dark cave. Something that tells me that they would be able to do anything against an elite football team. They had none of that. Nothing. it was ugly. The offense is ugly. Their defense won the game. I give props in the world, all the props in the world for Florida State for winning those games because they could have easily lost, and I think a lot of teams would have lost in that situation. If you take Michigan and you hurt their quarterback and say, hey, go beat Ohio State, which is their rival, which is kind of equivalent to Florida State playing Florida. That's that kind of rivalry down there in Florida. It's you get just as up for it. I don't think they would have been able to do it. I don't think Michigan would have been able to beat Iowa with, or at least they wouldn't have beaten them handily without their first string quarterback. But then again, would they be in the playoffs if they lost their quarterback, towards the end of the season and had a couple of games with him and looked really bad and didn't really look like the number one team in the country anymore? I don't know how that would work out if they struggled. Like, we don't know. It's subjective, right? We wanted subjectivity, we got it. And as much as I understand that there is probably a lot of swaying towards getting Alabama in there because we want the SEC, we want the money. Once again, I'm not naive to think that that is not what went down, but just my opinion. I'm not too upset about it because I think right now on the field, just my eye test personally, I think Alabama's a better football team. That's my opinion. But that's all that matters, right? Because we took out the computer rankings. We don't get computer points anymore. Not in college football. High school football, we do. We don't have to have these discussions in high school football because the computer tells us how many points you got based on who you beat, and that's what seed you're going to be. If it was a top 4 team in the playoff situation in high school football, there wouldn't be much argument because there's no opinion that puts you in or out. It's just computer. We had that in college football. We didn't like it. We ditched it for human opinions. This is what we get. If we want to go back to a computer ranking, I'm sure we can, and we'll have the same complaints that the computer didn't take in the fact that they looked really good in their win, or they didn't let that. That's people were saying that back in the BCS. Remember, that was the gripe of a number 3 team not being number 2. Well, they beat this team and they beat this team and they looked really good. And how can you say that this happened and this happened? It's clear to see on the field if you watch. They wanted the eye test. Now we have the eye test, and people still find a way to, complain and say it was the wrong decision. Every year, this is like clockwork. The CFP comes out, and there's some egregious mistake. Someone was egregiously left out. It's no different this year. It's the way college football is. Next year, the 12 teams isn't going to solve the problem because there's still going to be the 13 team that thinks they deserved it more than the 12 ranked team. And there's going to be uproars about that, or there's going to be, 4 or 5 SEC teams in the playoffs, and they're going to say SEC bias, and it's going to be up in arms about that. So, let's not pretend that we're going to fix the problem with 12 teams. There's still going to be problems. There's still going to be opinions. And people are still going to have a lot of problems with those opinions because that's what human opinion-based rankings are going to give you. And then 2, let's remember that what we're calling for, wins being wins, a lot of the people that want Florida State to be in the top 4, hey, winning is winning. They went out and they won the game. Who cares how they looked? They won. Wins are wins. We had that system. We ditched it. This is what we get. It's plain and simple. All right, with that being said, that is the end of the college football talk. We will end it there. We will go into the local sports. We'll go to what I think people come to this show for personally. One more thing, though. Congratulations to Georgia Tech Volleyball going to the Sweet 16. They will play Nebraska. I am excited for that. I'm way more excited than college football. Georgia Tech got into a bowl for the first time in 5 years. So me as a fan, I'm just happy about that. And I'm kind of sitting back and watching all these people complain about the playoffs because my team's nowhere close to being that good yet. So I'm just sitting back and eating popcorn and watching people complain about the college football playoffs. It's all fun and dandy. I'm just happy we're in a bowl game for the first time since 2018. All right, so let's go into the scoreboard from Friday 1st, brought to you by Burnett Pools, Spas, and Hot Tubs. As always, this is a great tool for YSN fans, whether you're at one of the games or you're watching one of our broadcasts. Of course, you don't want to look away for too long. This is a quick and easy way to get live updated scores. We have a great team behind the scenes that works to make sure that the scoreboard is live updated. We try not to make you wait until midnight for a final score, and it's a great tool. Brought to you by Burnett Pool Spas and Hot Tubs. Boys basketball, we saw Heartland Christian win a pretty awesome game. I mean, it was back and forth, really competitive against Salem. This was a part of the Lisbon Tip-Off Classic. This was game 1 on Friday, 70-61. The final score, the Quakers fall to Heartland Christian in game 1. Austintown Fitch, a very good game as well against Maslin Perry, even though that's a Perry Pirate there on the scoreboard. 51-47, the final score there. Warren JFK got their season off to a great start over Cleveland Central Catholic. They win 65-49, the final score there. We will do the first 3 rows, and then we'll skip over to the last ones. We are not skipping Beaver Local and West Branch. We will get to them when we get to the first 3 rows done. If this is the first time you've watched one of the recaps on Ysn Running Point, this is how we do it. Brookfield and Hubbard got together, and it is Hubbard getting the close win, 51-48, the final score there. We had Columbiana get their EOAC starting right off the jump, and they went down and they beat East Palestine by the final score of 66-48. Big one in a close one in Edgewood as they were able to barely get past Grand Valley, 47-44, the final score there. The Edgewood offense without Zach Finsel trying to find their way, and they do enough to win this game. Crestview and Lowville, our first overtime game of the basketball season. It only took 1 day for the boys to have an overtime game. 48-45, Lowville escapes Crestview with the overtime victory. Niles was able to beat Champion 59-53, the final score there. Congratulations to Coach Harden Jr. on his first career win as a first-year head coach. It's got to feel good for him, and we are excited that the Dragons got that 59-53 victory over Champion. Boardman went to Uniontown Lake, another overtime game here, and they didn't go to Uniontown Lake. They played Uniontown Lake. 51-50, Boardman gets the win in OT over a good Uniontown Lake Division I team there. So a good win for the Spartans to start off. Let's see. Ashley Beulah St. John fell to Crestwood. Final score there was 60-28. Lisbon in the second game of the Lisbon Tip-Off Classic, they were able to beat Western Reserve 48-30, the final score there. Edison beats Connaughton Valley 49-39, your final score there. Jefferson and Pymatuning Valley play a great game, but Pie Valley gets the 1-point win, 71-70. That's a great game to start off the season for them. How about Latonia going to Southern and giving the Indians all they want? But at the end of the day, 20 points from Markel Smith get the job done. 67-65. Southern escapes the upset bid, and they win by 2 points. Sebring fell to Maplewood 47-33, your final score there. And then one girls basketball game, Conneaut fell to Grand Valley 54-44, the final score there. So now we will scroll over to that final row and get you these games. Up top, we see Beaver Local and West Branch. West Branch gets the 67-59 win. They had a 20-plus lead going into the fourth quarter. Beaver Local with a furious comeback to make it close, but West Branch up for the task. They handle the comeback, they absorb it, and they get the win. Mooney looked impressive over a very young but very talented Liberty team, and they win 64-23, the final score. Evan Bates for Liberty had 20 of the 23 points for the Leopards. Eddie Neves was the player of the game for Cardinal Mooney, and he had a great game, 16 points for him and a couple of dunks. He can play above the rim, and he's going to get a lot more time on the varsity floor this year as he emerges as one of their leading scorers and probably one of their best defenders as well down there in the post. A great game in Kinsman as Campbell Memorial goes down and gets the win 69-64 over Badger. we saw Jackson Milton get the win over United 41-32, the final score there. And then East Liverpool, playing in Geneva, Pennsylvania, they get the win over Obama Academy 63-44, the final score in that one. We will go from Friday to Saturday, and we'll do the same thing, go over the scores for you. We'll start with girls basketball up top. Cheney gradually pulling away from East Palestine. This was close, and then all of a sudden in the second half, Cheney found a second gear. They get the win 56-29, the final score there. A good one in Champion as Warren JFK hits 12 threes as a team on their way to a 66-52 victory over Champion. Both teams shot well. Champion hit 8 threes as a team, so both teams very good from beyond the arc. Warren JFK a little bit better. Hoban got the win over Lincoln 51-48. That was who they were supposed to play, by the way, but last second schedule change, and Hoban went and played Waynedale instead. Same score, 51-48, the final score there. Lisbon girls, before the tip-off classic went into game 2 on the boys' side, Lisbon girls got a home game in, and they fell to Lowville 37-36, a very close game in Lisbon. The Rockets get the win in that one. Boardman gets the win over Louisville 55-45, the final score there. West Branch gets revenge over a Marlington team that beat them twice last year. 51-21, the final score there. They held Chelsea Effinich to just 9 points, one shot from the floor, just one three-pointer. That's it. The rest of her points came from the free throw line. If you know girls basketball, you know how good Chelsea Effinich is for Marlington, and you know that how hard that is to do, to hold her to just one field goal from the field. You have Salem getting the big win over Marlington, their first EBC win for the Quakers. 64-29, the win there. We saw Edgewood get the win over West Geauga 59-40. Final score there. Southern Local, they fell to Wheeling Central Catholic 63-31. Austintown Fitch gets the win over Hathaway Brown 38-32. We'll scroll down the boys basketball, and then we'll go back up for the last column. In boys basketball, we saw Conneaut. They got the win over Horizon Science Academy 66-54, the final score there. Sebring wins 43-34 over Chalker. Salem gets the win over Western Reserve 49-32. In game 3 of that Lisbon Tip-Off Classic, that was the game between the two losing teams on Friday. So Salem avenges it and ends the weekend 1-1 in Lisbon. Cardinal Mooney and Struthers, no score reported on that one. Jackson Milton beat Latonia 69-55. And Lisbon won the Lisbon Tip-Off Classic with a win over Heartland Christian 74-61, the final score there. Let's scroll over to the last column. Lowville, as we said, beat Lisbon 37-36. Middle Ridge goes on the road to Orange and wins 64-46. And Jackson Milton gets their first win in 651 days. As they missed last season, of course, their basketball program, girls basketball program, missed last season. They didn't have the numbers. So they get their first win since February of 2022. And that score is 50-18 over Latonia. Congratulations to the Blue Jays. We definitely would love to have them back on the network for sure. Last but not least, in boys basketball, it is South Range and Louisville going at it. Louisville gets the 10-point victory, 71-61 over the Raiders in the Thriller Dome. This game started off with a 12-0 Louisville run, and as you can see, from that point on, South Range won the game by 2. So it's a great job by South Range to bounce back from a tough start and fight, not let Louisville run away with the game. There were a couple of times when it looked like Louisville might. They increased the lead to maybe 16, 18, I think was their biggest. But South Range kept coming back each time, trying to stay in striking distance. And eventually they actually did stay in striking distance, but Louisville too good to come all the way back from, and they get the win 71-61. Do want to give a little bit of a thought to Braden Gross from Louisville, who had to come out of the game in the third quarter. He had 12 points at halftime, was playing very well, and we hope he is okay. I know a couple other players were a little banged up, but they came back into the game. So seeing that Braden did not come back into the game that night, we definitely hope he's okay and send good thoughts and good vibes his way to Louisville. So that'll do it for your scoreboard recap of Saturday. We did have one game, I believe, on Sunday. East Liverpool, of course, playing Western Beaver, and a big win for them, 79-40, the final score there. And then Canfield Hockey falling to Normandy, 4-2, the final score in hockey on Sunday for Canfield. So that'll do it for your weekend recap on the scoreboard, brought to you by Burnett Pools, Spas, and Hot Tubs. We'll be back to them in a little bit later on in the show to preview what's going on tonight. But first, we'll take a commercial break. On the other end of that break, we will play the player profile from Springfield senior Ava Vecchione on the girls' side. Going to be a great interview with her. So that's on the other end of this break on Running Point, brought to you as always by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Be back in a bit.
21 News delivers the news as it happens, using the latest technology from where it happens.
Live here outside the Mahoney County.
On air, online,
Wednesday afternoon weather update.
Very dangerous.
and on the 21 News social media platforms.
I'm on the road right now.
21 News, the Valley's only locally owned source for trusted news since 1953.
Craftsmanship to us is 60 years of pride and dedication.
Passed down from generation to generation.
The hardwood floors that your kids take their first steps on.
The solid wood doors you quietly close at night.
The things we create day in and day out are the products that end up turning your house into a home.
At Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods, uncompromising quality and craftsmanship built our business.
And it will keep us moving forward for generations to come.
Going the extra mile at Greenwood Chevrolet means we want to take care of the community that takes care of us too.
And we have to work together always. And that's how you stay in business for 40 years.
You know, I love being a helper because when I help somebody, it makes me feel good.
It means a lot that I can make a difference in others' lives.
So I will do everything I can and just being there for them every step of the way.
I want them to know within the first 5 minutes that they could depend on me. That's what going the extra mile means, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Before the lights come on, before the workday begins, before a long day is ended, or it's time to have fun. It all starts with the people at Joe Dickey Electric. From replacing a light fixture in your home to building a substation for your business, no job is too big or too small. The people of Joe Dickey Electric power them all. Joe Dickey Electric, over 60 years of powering the Mahoning Valley.
Anthony Hartwig here with an exciting Springfield girls basketball player profile. I'm joined by senior and now captain Ava Vecchione of the Springfield Tigers. Ava, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
Thank you for having me back.
You got it. Great to have you back. Welcome to another basketball season. First question is, you're a senior now. It's the start of the year. You're a couple of games in, but what's it feel like to know that everything you're doing, it's now for the last time, and you're a senior and this is your last go around?
I mean, it's definitely I'm definitely kind of sad, but it's also I'm really excited that I get one more year with all these girls. And I mean, I went through it with soccer, my senior season ending and stuff. So I guess I'm just excited, especially after coming off of last year, to hopefully have another good run with these girls.
Yeah, let's talk about last year. We didn't really, obviously we didn't interview any of you guys after that run to get the thoughts on what it meant, but going into Dayton, having that experience, coming back to this year, what is the mindset of going into this year? Obviously, rosters looks different. You lost a couple of players. You're bringing a couple back. What's it like this year, trying to kind of one up that season?
I mean, yeah, we definitely lost some good girls who really helped. But I think I mean, I still think that we have like the confidence that we did last year, like knowing we came back from like a state run, being like the first girls basketball team in the school to like make that run. It's definitely really exciting. Like I was looking forward to the season just because of that. And so
What did that experience teach you that you're bringing into this year? Like, what lessons did you learn from going down to Dayton and playing at that level of basketball that now you're bringing into your senior year?
I learned a lot. It's just all about like confidence and stuff because last year our district semi game and the regional semi game, like we were down in the fourth quarter, but I don't think any of us like lost our confidence. And I mean, we won both those games, so definitely learn to just like stay calm, keep your confidence and stuff, and just trust your teammates.
Even last year, you had to be a little bit of a leader because you were one of the girls that was, relied on to handle the ball and pass really well and distribute the ball. But this year as a senior, the leadership responsibilities go up a tick. You're a captain now. How has that been, handled for you? How have you been able to just step up as a leader this year and take that next level of leadership?
Yeah, and I'm the only senior too, so I definitely knew like coming into this year that like the coaches would really look at me for like being the leader and stuff. And I mean, honestly, it's been pretty easy. I learned a lot from the girls in the past. Like we've had like really good leaders the past few years. So, and I mean, I'm really like I've gotten really close with all the girls. So, just like being a vocal leader and a show lead by example leader, I mean, they make it really easy.
How would you describe your leadership qualities? Like, what kind of leader would you describe yourself as?
I mean, sometimes I'm not the most like vocal person, so I probably am more of like a lead by example type of leader. But I mean, with the girls, like I'm also like really comfortable with them, so like kind of like getting everyone hyped up during the games, especially when people like they'll miss a shot or will have a turnover, just trying to get them to like keep their head up, and because that's like really important. If you like keep your head down, then I mean, there's no like motivation.
You already talked about learning lessons from the leaders that you've already had on your team before. What is the biggest thing that you've learned as a leader from the leaders of the past on this team?
I guess just to like trust your teammates because I think like in the past few years they all like trusted us as like underclassmen or like me being a junior. So I guess I just learned to trust everyone.
Next season, when we talk to next year's player profiles and we talk to next year's seniors and ask them the same question, what do you hope their answer would be on what Ava taught them about how to be a leader?
I mean, I guess just like being nice to everyone because I feel like good leaders. I mean, you can't be like mean to the younger girls; they won't really look up to you. So I guess just being nice and having like confidence in them and trusting them.
You are nice to everyone on your team. Your defense is not nice. You will play lockdown defense right up in people's faces. You're not afraid to push them around a little bit. What gives you that defensive mentality?
I mean, I guess like because in our game against like Crestview, like when I forced the point guard to have like a turnover, I think she like traveled or something, and then like everyone, like the crowd, the coaches, the bench, like they were all cheering. They're like, keep doing it, and the teammates just like backing you up and stuff. Like it just makes you feel good, and it just makes you like want to keep on going. And I feel like that happens a lot, and that like gives you more confidence just to like keep wanting to do it.
Do you like it when you kind of feel like your defense is getting to the other team and you can start to see a little bit, they're starting to make a little bit more mistakes because that like I'm putting pressure on this girl?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that's definitely the goal, just to like kind of get in their head and I mean force them to like turn the ball over. So
you've always been a good defender. You're asked to score a little bit more this year. Like they're gonna ask you, hey, we need you to score more than you did last year. What have you done in the off season and in the summers to work on your scoring and what do you think are the biggest improvements you've had on the offensive side of the ball?
Definitely shooting more. I've had to work a lot on my shot because I mean, even like last year, I know I didn't really have like they told me we had like our preseason meetings and they told me like the amount of shots I had last year and they're like we want you to like maybe add like 10 to that or like double that number. So I knew I had to like when we play like in the summer I would shoot more even if they weren't falling. Like I just have to know like I just have to keep on shooting because they're eventually gonna fall. So.
Let's talk about that coaching staff that you have, especially John Matese, coming into this program, doing what he's done with it already. What's it been like to be under him, and what have you learned, not just about the sport of basketball, but yourself as well?
Yeah, I mean, like, I keep going back to talking about, like, confidence, but he definitely, like, And again, like last year, even in the games when we were like down, I mean, you could tell he never lost his confidence in us. So he really taught me, like, I mean, he was always very calm during that because he was like, well, I know like we could win this, like we're the better team. So he definitely taught me to just like trust myself and the team because like confidence is key.
You already talked about multiple sport athlete, coming from the soccer season, already going through, the last senior season of soccer. What's it like to transition from one sport to the other as a multiple sport athlete? How do you kind of flip that mindset?
I mean, I guess I've kind of like gotten used to it, especially doing it like the past 4 years, or I guess like 6 years, counting seventh and eighth grade. So, I mean, but it is like fun, like going from like one group of girls to another group of girls because there aren't really a lot of soccer players on the basketball team. But I enjoy it. The conditioning part is sometimes a little bit rough, but
you're obviously staying busy. You have to juggle the sports with the schoolwork, trying to keep a social life because you're still just a kid. How do you balance it all? What are some of your routines that balance your time?
I mean, actually, before like the past few games, like I'll hang out with some of the girls. I'll get like lunch with some of the girls like on the team, and usually like during the season, I'll hang out a lot with like the girls like from that team. So that kind of makes it like more fun, like being like close with all of them, and like because you're all doing the same sport, you all have the same schedule. So,
do you think you've always been good at time management, or do you think that's something that you've had to continue to get better at as you've gone through your high school career?
I've definitely had to get better at it, especially with like all the schoolwork, just being able to manage like if I have a game this day and a test the next day, like knowing like how to manage my time with like studying and stuff. It's definitely gotten easier. Sometimes it's difficult, especially like if we have like an away game that's far and you have to like study, like having to bring schoolwork on the bus and stuff. But I mean, I think I've gotten used to it.
I know senior night is a long way away. We don't want to think about it. Basketball just started, but when you start to think about what kind of things you're going to get reflective of as senior year, and senior night is when you can get really reflective on your memories and the things that you're going to treasure about this team and this program. What do you think comes to mind when you think of lifelong core memories that you've made with this program?
Definitely our big run last year, and even like winning districts the year before, because I think it was the first time in like 30 some years that a team at Springfield like won district. So definitely like those runs, just being with like all the girls, and hopefully they like look up to me as a leader. Like that's always a goal too. So
we get to see you guys on the court all the time. What's the personality of this team off the court? Give us a little bit of insight.
I mean, I feel like everyone's like funny, they're fun and like nice and talkative and stuff. It's kind of like the same like going from basketball practice to outside of basketball practice, because I think like at practice like we can all like joke around with each other, and obviously when it's time to be serious like we will, but I think like that also is taken like off the court too. Like they're all just like outgoing and like funny and nice.
This might be a hard question because there are so many lively personalities, and I see you guys laughing so much with each other. Who's the funniest person on the team? Like, who's that one that no matter what the situation is can crack a joke or can say something that will make everybody on the team laugh?
I feel like definitely like Jamaica. Like she's always funny. Like she's always teasing everyone and stuff. So.
I had a strong feeling it was going to lean towards that. You can just tell that personality leans heavily into the looseness of this team. Let's talk about your future. Obviously, you're a senior. We don't want to see you go, but that's the reality. You're going to graduate from Springfield. What does your future hold? What are some of your future goals that you have after you graduate?
Well, I'm still undecided on like where I want to go to college, or even like I've thought about like maybe running track in college. I've talked to a few schools about that, but I don't know. I kind of been thinking about like I still don't know if I want to go away or stay home. So I guess like I don't know. I'm still trying to figure everything out.
The where is still trying to be figured out, but what about the what? Do you have like an idea of what you're interested in or what kind of career path you want to go into that college will help you get into?
I was thinking about like business, maybe like something with like accounting or finance, or maybe on the flip side, like something in the medical field, like dental hygiene or physical therapy. So those are like my main.
If you went into business and let's say like, hey, I have to start my own business. So there's something in the world that I want to sell or I want to, be a commerce in. What's something that you think you would be really good at, starting a business in?
I'm not sure. That's like a hard.
What are some of your, what are some of your hobbies that you're good at? Like if you had to pick something that like, okay, I am good at this outside of sports, of course. What do you think you would choose?
Well, I could think of something that I like that I would want to sell. Like maybe like I could sell like Aquaphor. Like I feel like I use that like every single
There you
day.
go. That's all it takes. You know, you just got to be a saleswoman, you know, and you know, lean into your strengths. That's all it takes. All right. Let's talk about some of the hidden talents. I always like to hear about hidden talents with these athletes because we see your talent on the court, on the field, on the track. Do you have any talents that go outside of sports that you think like, oh my gosh, people need to know that I'm also good at this?
Well, I guess I have two. I used to do piano lessons. I mean, I'm not like the best anymore. I still like kind of know how to read music and I still memorize a few of the songs. And then also we have like a ping pong table at my house. So me and like my sisters and my dad will always play. And I feel like I've gotten pretty good at it.
Do you have a favorite piano song?
I mean, I know a lot of like Christmas ones. Like I have like a book and it's a bunch of Christmas ones. So like Jingle Bells and all the like the basic Christmas songs.
Is there a song that you like maybe hear in your playlist or is in your, you know, music library that you're like, man, this piano in this song would be awesome to learn?
I feel like Viva La Vida by Coldplay. I feel like that's a good song that has like
That's
a good
awesome. I love that song. You brought up your sister who is now on the roster. You know, you get to see her on varsity. We saw her in the Crestview game a little bit. What's that like to now be, you know, sharing the floor with her?
I mean, I've been looking forward to this year like with her since I was like a freshman in middle school and stuff. So I mean, it is like really cool like getting to go through this even though we only have 1 year. It's really cool like going through it with her and being with her on the court. And I mean, obviously I could be like a little more mean to her just because she's like my sister and stuff with like correcting her, but I mean it is really fun. Like we've definitely gotten closer this year going from like soccer to basketball and just going to practice together every day and stuff like that.
All right, before we let you go, what is one way that you guys are similar and one ways that you think are just polar opposites when you talk about your sister?
I think we're similar because I feel like we kind of both have the same mindset. Like we're like, oh, I hate this, I don't want to do that, but then like when we like something, we'll like, I don't know, I feel like we're kind of like the same with like what we like and what we don't like. And then we're different, and I think we're different in like our styles. Like sometimes I don't like what she wears. She makes fun of me for what I wear, but
at least you don't have to worry about her going into your closet and stealing
yeah.
clothes, right? It's always a positive.
Yeah.
Before we let you go, I want to give you the chance, like we do with every player profile that we do, to thank your support system, the people in your life that you wouldn't be where you are without. Want to give you the time to shine a light on all those people.
Definitely my family, my parents, and both my sisters, and then my grandma and my grandpa, because they come to like every single game and they're always so supportive. So all of them.
All right, Ava, we want to thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We appreciate it. Wish you the best of luck the rest of your senior year, and we can't wait to talk again real soon.
Thank you.
And that was Ava Vecchione, the senior from Springfield. We are so happy that she was able to give us our time throughout the whole basketball season. Not just me, but Ty Bartell, DJ Oakley, and our whole YSN crew will strive to get as many of those player profiles as we possibly can. They'll be featured on Running Point with me. They'll be featured on Power Hour with DJ. Gonna have a lot of fun with that. This first of many player profiles for the basketball season. Let's go back into the scoreboard real quick. Brought to you by Burnett Pool Spas and Hot Tubs, and look at what games are going to be happening tonight. We'll hop on from this weekend scoreboard. We're on Saturday. We'll hop over to today. At the bottom of the page, if you're new to our scoreboard, you just scroll down and right there you find the date of the day you want. Today is December 4th, obviously, and we will go up and see what's going on today in girls basketball. We have Crestview, another non-conference test for the Rebels as they travel to Girard, who has been close to winning in both their games, but hasn't been able to, peak that mountain yet. Girard looking for their first win. It would be a big one if they were able to take care of Crestview at home. Southern Local in Columbiana matching up in the EOAC tonight. Springfield traveling to Poland. They have another tough non-conference non-conference game there. Poland trying to bounce back from their only loss of the season to champion last week. Struthers going to Western Reserve tonight. We have Canfield hosting Kennedy Catholic. East Palestine will host Lisbon. Campbell Memorial will host Heartland Christian tonight. Howland going to be hosting Youngstown East. We have Latonia going to Wellsville. Liberty traveling to Mineral Ridge. United will go to Valley Christian. KFK coming off their big win on Saturday over Champion will stay in the MVAC Gray Tier with a trip to Newton Falls. Brookfield goes to Hubbard tonight. And last but not least, Lakeview with a trip to Warren Harding tonight. Here are the announcing crews of the games that you can find on our network. ysnlive.com/live is where you can find all these games. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games for you on the network tonight. Crestview at Gerard, Matt Marr going to be on the call there. Sam Ballast and Jake Nicholas going to be traveling with Lakeview to Warren Harding. Joe Cebio going to be on the call for Southern and Columbiana. By the way, our ace photographer, Gary Leininger, will also be at that game. So if you want to see some great pictures of Southern and Columbiana girls basketball, make sure to check out our YSN Smug Mug later on tonight for great shots from that game from Gary Leininger. I will be in Poland for Springfield versus Poland. Struthers at Western Reserve will be Ty Bartell on the call there. We have Noah Doty going to be at Canfield as they take on a very good Kennedy Catholic team. We have East Palestine at Lisbon on the network. Scott Hemthorne and Quinn will be on the call there. Quinn Pushkar. And then Eric Hughes will be on the call as Heartland Christian goes to Camel Memorial. So those games going to be on the network tonight. Also, last on the bottom of the bracket, didn't see it, Brookfield and Hubbard will also be on the network. ysnlive.com/live is where you can find those games. Zach Svensson on the call for the Hubbard game. With that being said, our schedule being unveiled and everything going on tonight, we will end today's episode of Running Point. We want to thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate it. We'll be back tomorrow from 1 to 2 with another exciting episode. As always, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austin Town. Enjoy all the action tonight. Girls basketball